Have you ever felt like a single painful moment in childhood, one little death of trust, safety, or belonging, still echoes in your life today? Or maybe there's something about your child's story that makes you cringe and wish you could take it all back. Well, what if instead of carrying these moments as shame or regret, you could honor them as part of a sacred story that strengthens you and your children? That's what today's conversation is all about: finding healing and reassurance through the power of biography work, rhythm, and storytelling. I'm your host, Bridgid Berkano, and you are listening to the Five Petal Podcast. This is a place where we explore the intersections of emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and relational well being. And I'm so glad you're here. In today's episode, I sit down with my dear friend, teacher, and storyteller, Victoria Baker, to talk about the significance of our life stories and the rhythms that carry us through. Together, we explore what Waldorf education calls biography work, how revisiting our birth stories and life milestones, even the difficult ones, can bring meaning, healing, and perspective. We also get into the tension between form and function, why holding too rigidly to an ideal can sometimes harm more than it helps, and how allowing your story to unfold naturally can bring freedom and connection. So, whether you're a parent, a teacher, or someone carrying the weight of never enough, this episode will help you reconnect to the golden threads weaving through your life. Before we dive in, let me tell you a little about Victoria. Victoria Baker is an experienced early childhood and elementary Waldorf educator, storyteller, and artist. She studied at Rudolph Steiner College and Sound Circle and holds a master's in teaching from the Evergreen State College. Victoria grew up here in the Pacific Northwest, and she now lives in Snohomish County with her husband, Jason, their youngest son, Cedar, and their two beloved dogs, Sasha, a Great Pyrenees, and Angus, a Bernese Mountain Dog. She's deeply passionate about nature, community, and honoring the wheel of the year with seasonal celebrations. Her approach to working with families blends philosophies and practices like imaginative free play, oral storytelling, nature walks, family style meals, purposeful daily work, and place based education. At the heart of her work is a reverence for story, rhythm, and the sacredness of every child's path. So settle in. This conversation will invite you to see your own story with fresh eyes. Let's get started. Hello, welcome to my dining room table in my home. I have my friend Victoria Baker, who I've gotten to know very well over the last 10, 11 years. I first met Victoria in a woman's depth work circle. And then as a Waldorf teacher, she's taught both of my children, and we're still just very close. And I really appreciate you and all of the wisdom that you bring. And I'm really happy to have you on the Five Petal Podcast to jump into a couple different topics.
Thank you so much, Bridgid. I'm honored to be here and excited to talk with you today.
Yay! So there's a couple things that we want to discuss. There's this really cool modality that Victoria shares with her students. What do you call it? The timeline?
Well, it's not something that I invented. It's been part of the Waldorf kindergarten, but as part of their birthday celebration, the story of their birth is told. And over the years, it's been such an honor to receive that story from parents, and along with all the wonderful, beautiful memories that people have oftentimes there's a little residue of sadness or regret or wishing things had gone differently. And what I love about this work is that opportunity to affirm that although we may have things that we wish were different, that every child, every person's story is sacred and precious. And it's acknowledged not just in Waldorf education, but in cultures around the world, that there is often something of the way a child enters into the world that is an imprint on their life, and maybe a little clue into what they're bringing into the world.
Wow. It's really wonderful. I hold these sisterhood retreats, and Victoria was offering this biography work to women there, with or without children. So you were helping them explore the story of their life.
Yes. So one of my influences in bringing this into the adult realm is Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And so it's kind of a wedding of the birth story, the story of how you came into the world. What family did you incarnate into? Who are the people welcoming you? Who are the people that were missing? Where were you born in the world? What the time was? What was happening in your family, in the world when you were born? There's those pieces. And then when we bring it into the adult realm, it's looking at our lives at those places where there was what Clarissa Pinkola Estes calls a small death. So along, those significant milestones and events in your life, and golden threads of positive qualities and influences and things, there's what she calls the little deaths of life. And taking a moment in ceremony, very simply, just to honor those places where we died to feeling safe in our family origin, or we died to having trust in the world, or we died to just feeling like we could sing or be an artist, or feel confident in our bodies. It could be any of those things. And those little deaths are things that shape us, and they're not wrong necessarily in and of themselves, but they're also go throughout our lives, just like that golden thread of everything that is precious and unique about us.
Little deaths. That really ties in. I can see that in my work with clients too, and the language that we would use around this. And the coaching modality would be like, when did you acquire this limiting belief? Like, when did you realize or decide or learn that, like, I can't because this? And then how do you work with people when they see their little death?
Well, I think in your asking that, two things come up. One thing is just acknowledging it, pausing it, and grieving what is called, I like the term irretrievable losses. So maybe there's never been a moment to take in and metabolize and honor what it meant when you had that moment of your trust being broken, or maybe a responsibility that was beyond your years was put upon you, or you were blamed for something you didn't do. So just honoring those moments. Doing the biography work, I'm a teacher, and consider this healing work, but I would characterize it as therapeutic rather than, it's not therapy. So they may touch on very tender things that do deserve the time and work of therapy, And this is really more of a ceremony and honoring, and maybe perhaps even daylighting things that have shaped and formed us that maybe just seemed incidental or an unfortunate event. So it's beautiful, powerful work. And I think something really important to share, though, is that whether it's a parent giving their child's birth story or whether it's somebody sharing about their personal biography, that to remind people that they're always the editor and the author and in control of their narrative, and that doesn't mean you're not dishonest if you choose to not share something because it is painful or private or personal, or you're not ready to, or you don't feel like sharing that in that context. So it's just hopefully very gentle and reverent work of a person's life and story that invites them to interact with it in a way that brings meaning and shape to their destiny and life path.
I love it. And just knowing you work with story so deeply. So I could see how this would be definitely like a really powerful modality for you to share the legend of one's life.
Yes.
and seeing the significance of different points in the story just from knowing you. Because Victoria is also a puppet maker. And just her, just a normal everyday preschool experience is incredibly magical with scenes, and the children are playing music along with this moral lesson that is weaving together. So and so many stories live inside of you too that I'm really excited about, like hearing you do this and trying to get Victoria to like offer it online so she can do it with more people. Just you can have Zoom sessions or something.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
No, I would love to do more of this work. I'm really at the beginning of offering this to adults. I realized that I veered off from what we were talking about before, and I do want to touch on the second thing that I think is really healing about biography and looking at the rhythms of your life and your development, or your child's life and development, is that it brings a certain objectivity. And when we can see that there's normal tasks in different times of life, and not just childhood, but in our adult life too, of things we're called to meet and rise up to, and different fears or feelings or emotions that are typical at different ages. I think it can really bring some levity and lift that heaviness around. Why is my child having nightmares right now? What's going on? Their emotions and feelings are so big. Why am I feeling such heavy loss? And when you look at the magnified patterns of, say, biographies of historical figures, or even some celebrities or authors or artists, you can see those patterns more vividly, and you can just feel a lighter in knowing that this is our path as human beings, and it looks different in everybody's life, but there's nothing wrong with your child. There's nothing wrong with you. We're just meeting these natural stress points that are inviting us into growth and transformation at every stage.
That's so beautiful. And I know you really hold that. I know through my, like you've been with me through like the vast bulk of my parenting since my oldest was just a tiny little guy. And I've just just really reassured me as I've awkwardly navigated his parenting. So, yeah, I definitely can feel how true that is, what you just shared, that it's all to be taken in stride, and there's a bigger story with all of this. So, okay, can we do a little bit of this work just to demonstrate?
I'm so glad you said reassurance, because I think that's a really important word for people and parents.
Yes. Yeah, we have so much information now about how things can go wrong and pathologizing everything. And we can really just get hung up on these critical details. Like somebody who is willing to read a book to examine their behavior obviously has a high level of conscientiousness. And then that is so easy to turn on oneself. So reassurance is incredibly important.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my mentors, I wish I could call up his name. I believe his first name was Georg. He, when I brought him a question about a child who was in distress, and the parent was in distress, saying and going, I am so scared. I see his anxiousness. I see my child's depression. I fear that they will have suicidal thoughts like me. I will fear that they will have, mental issues. I feel that they'll feel my despair. And when I brought this to my mentor, he said that our most important responsibility as parents is to project, he called it a golden thread, into the future, into 35 years old, that is positive, and that is creative, and has faith in their child's journey and a loyalty to their possibility. And I don't know that he used those exact words, but he really emphasized that as a deep responsibility as a parent to our children, is to project a positive future and hold those pictures of well-being, those pictures of capacity, those pictures of confidence, strongly, so that our children can move into them, not moving into what we necessarily project on them or think or believe they should be, but just that confidence that they will be resilient, and that if they have a need, we'll we'll observe and respond to it appropriately to the best of our ability. But that fear and anxiety is and depression epidemic of our times, and it's now we have a generation of parents who are deeply affected, and who are raising their children hoping for something different, but feeling hopelessness sometimes, because if I can't transform this for myself, how can I hold a different picture for my child? And that's also very human, because we all have places where we're stuck. And we need, just like you're talking about, we need to be relational. I need my friend Bridgid. You need your friend Victoria, hopefully, to reflect something that we don't see in ourselves. So, there's definitely a witnessing aspect, and also a respect for every person's journey and their deep wisdom and their intuition that both creates meaning in what they've done, and is a validation of what they're drawn to.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And then, like, how to get on with it.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us into the other topic.
Yes.
So something that I think is really useful about Waldorf, and that I've really taken with just my time in connection with you, is that I know that I'm saying rhythms for sustenance. This is my phrasing of it, but that's what I've taken. Like we were having a conversation, I think it was like last week when I was over at your house, and you were saying these rhythms replace strength and they help build up the life forces in a child. So they need the building, and then they do something else for adults. What is it that they do for adults?
Well, I think I think for the child, not only building up their life forces and their energy, but they're still building their bodies. So we need to be that much more protective of their life forces.
That's right. It builds their bodies.
Yes.
And then it builds the life forces of an adult.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it's that it also frees us up if we're I just think if I'm sure as somebody who works for themselves, there's probably some supportive habits or rituals, routines, rhythms that invite you into your work and put you in the space of being productive. But it's just in modern life, a lot of us, there's places where we're deciding what to do every day, or just think around the area of food. We don't, a lot of people aren't eating a traditional diet, so we are making decisions on a daily basis that people's were decided for their whole life. So you can just imagine, it's wonderful to have all these choices and enriching opportunities, and every every takes some energy.
Yeah,
so
people say decision fatigue.
Yes. So I think, and it also, there are these just implicit reminders of, oh yes, I'm at my desk. That's cueing me to what I'm doing. Or I remember one of your practices that helped you as a parent of young children was, I think, walking barefoot to your mailbox is something I remember. So hopefully that our routines and rhythms are alive enough that they're giving us a sense of security and a reliable flow of our day and life, and the expectation. You have the gathering that you do with Joe's family every year, and I imagine that's that kind of lives in your family memory and body. Oh, it's like getting to be that kind of time, and who are we going to see, and the preparations that have to come, and that's and marking the year, and then also the different things that your children do every year. They're experiencing themselves anew because there's a consistent container. They can say, oh, I'm big enough to go on the rope swing now, or whatever has changed for them throughout the year.
Yeah, and so that's great. And I asked this question also because I know that your focus is on children, families, supporting parents to care for children. You are a teacher. You count to me as a helping professional.
Yeah.
I support helping professionals, and I am seeing this through the lens of how to support the nourishers of society in their work and to build their life forces. So I'm just curious, like, what are some things that you do? I've heard you say, when you get into the classroom and, people are like talking to you and chatting you up, you're like, blah, blah, you say, I just need to land.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
Yes. Yes.
So can you talk more about your rhythms for sustenance as a helping professional?
Sure. Well, there's a lot of different ones, and I guess I'll make one of mine is just preparing the space, and with teaching, especially young children, a lot of is the story. And so it's a way of expressing love, actually, of I've already been where I'm asking you to go, and that imparts a sense of security and something that children and families can rest into. And I think how that connects to the biography work with the parents or anyone is that when they can see the patterns of their life and patterns of human development, they can rest into that and know that there's honor the seasons of life that they have, and recognize what are the unique gifts of them, what are the challenges that they've met or been hindered by, and just have some levity and objectivity, because a lot of parents are very triggered by their children. And one antidote to that, I think the most basic antidote, is if they can connect to what it was like for them when they were at that age of their child, that especially if that age is testing them and pushing them, what was it like for them? And when we can have that metacognition on our lives and know, oh, they were having a really hard time at 12, or that there was something going on with their parents at 9, or friendships were really tricky around 13 or 14 and things were changing. They can have compassion for themselves. They can have a deeper and wider, more generous perspective for their children, and they can ground, they can land in the confidence of, my child it's just, they're changing. We're always adjusting to growing and changing. I'm growing and changing. And a lot of people still are in a young place of thinking bad things happen to me, or so I'm bad, or something wrong. There's something wrong about my story and life. And especially people who've had a lot of trauma, I think, no matter what your spiritual perspective, that a helpful insight from Rudolf Steiner is that if you look at somebody with a hard destiny, could be growing up in foster care, could be having parents who are dealing with addiction, that person, that child, it's a very, very brave soul and spirit, and it's far and away from anything blaming the victim, but it's the perspective that for hundreds, thousands of years, generations, that we have been preparing to be born and to come to do our work in the world, and that we chose our parents, our families, and the challenges and work we would do and face in our lives. And always want to be careful, again, the idea of people who've had a lot of trauma, but just take it in a way that so much respect for people who would still choose to meet our times as a spiritual being. They would still make that choice, knowing the difficulties and the hardships and the hindrances that could lay before them on their path. And so it's just about it's not about being diagnostic or saying, oh, you chose that, but just having just deep reverence and respect for everybody's unique destiny and the mystery of, who is this person and what are they bringing in, and what is their task that they're moving toward. And I just love that anything that we can find that's a clue to the riddle of the mystery of a person, I think is very, very sacred if we hold it lightly and maintain warmth and interest and curiosity, and can suspend judgment or conclusions and just be there's so much to be in awe of in everybody's story and life.
What could a nurse do for themselves? Like, what could a therapist do for themselves to bring themselves in?
I mean, I think I just think the more we interact with our story in a healthy, life-giving, upbuilding way, that the more of we just have more access to ourselves, and we have more energy, we have more perspective and objectivity, and just as, even though we're so intimate with our own lives, we still can't know everything about ourselves or our families or why something was so. I think it can give people grounding and reassurance in taking hold of the narrative of their life, and also just hopefully that they can in turn offer generosity of spirit and perspective, objectivity, and have there's a lot of cold observation in Western in the Western culture, Western life, but how can we have the observation that is heart-centered and filled with warmth and can withstand the tension of what we can see and know and what we can't, and therein preserve the beautiful potential of every human being by celebrating and accepting who and what they are and what their life is, and just enjoying that we just don't know what's anyone's potential or their depth or anything, that there's so much beauty and mystery in every human being.
I love this, and I can put it together because I know the rhythms that you're talking about of ceremony. We sit together in the new moon, and we've had seasonal emotional, spiritual nature ceremony, and it's different every time, and it's a way to tend the story that you're living today, and to hold it in perspective. Just to summarize for anybody who maybe doesn't know what we're talking about, so I'm hearing what you're saying, like how much this could offer somebody to tend their own story, because they hold so much for others. So a ritual to hold them.
Well, and also in the shadows of the caring profession, if I can be with the shadow, oh, wait, I'm trying to give something I don't have. Let me step back and fill my cup. or I'm really care about this to the point of rigidity, and I can't convey the fullness of it because I'm held up by my attachment to a detail that doesn't translate for other people. So I think what's our motivations, what's our intentions when we're being present to someone. So just I think it's kind of good social hygiene for us to where was I making a story up about something that happened? Just the clearer we can be with ourselves, the clearer of a field we can bring to and really be available to the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Steiner always talked about the exercise at night of reviewing your day, and he called that the small death of sleep. But to look back and not to use conscientiousness to be stuck or self-flagellate, but to go, where do I feel a little sorrow or regret, or where do I have a hard moment with a child, or where did I, what was something I, missed opportunity or something, and take that moment to just to reflect on it and mourn it and bring that into your striving. Tomorrow I'm going to make sure I have the snack laid out because that was a hard moment with the rain gear, and that didn't need to happen had I been fully present to the task at hand. Whatever it is, just and that helps us metabolize and have anticipation for the day. I can't wait to circle back with that child tomorrow. Or I noticed that parent didn't seem themselves. I meant to reach out, or whatever it is. Because there's so much unmet need in the caring professions and mental health. So how can we just in our little corner of the world be as clean and clear as possible, and when we're not, acknowledge it and keep in right relation with the people we have in our circle of influence. And so I think especially in the early childhood, in Waldorf education, there's so much that's implicit in similar to Montessori. I think more people are often familiar with Montessori. There's a prepared environment. There's an awareness for what is, I hesitate to say normal, let's say within the spectrum or tasks of child development of different ages. And there's when we have the same snack, with obviously seasonal variations, but we have the same snack on the same day of the week, and we have the same practical life activity, whether it's dusting or sweeping or cleaning out the raincoat cubbies, if we have that on the same day every week. And we have the artistic activities, handwork, or baking, or watercolor painting. We have those daily activities, the same one on every day. They begin to have a trust in the world because they can predict, it's beans and rice day, it's painting day, or whatever. They are starting to live into the picture, and that gives them confidence, just as the wheel of the year. It's solstice, we make sunbread and have a bonfire, or it's lantern walk, we create a lantern and go go out in the rain and have and dark and have cider and sing songs together.
Yeah.
Those are the things they begin to recognize them again. They one year they did the lantern walk, and they were little, and all they did is hold their parents' hand, and their parent carried their lantern, and then they do it again next year, and they make their own lantern, or they make a more complicated lantern, and it lights up in them this beautiful recognition and trust in the predictability in the world, and gives a little leaven to the spirit of, we don't have to do this, but we choose to gather this and connect to the earth and connect to one another.
And that's such an important distinction to make. Like, we don't have to.
Yes.
But we do. Because I think that, and I know you're up for this conversation.
Yes,
and it's
totally
really, really juicy to get into, because I'm an unschooler.
Yay.
Right. And you're down with it. I know. And there's this sort of dialogue between, the hardcore Waldorf and like the hardcore Montessori, or like abolish everything. We are free wielding, I'm neurodivergent. I can't do that, or something, and like I have that family that's,
yes.
But at the same time, the yearly cycle, or my monthly cycle, or my nightly cycle, like we have a pretty solid bedtime deal that we do that's nice. Just brush teeth, read story, connect a little bit, snuggle a little bit.
That's one of the most important rhythms of the day, right?
Right. Yeah, and like when we do it, that's when it like it's time, and it's time. So then the people who might see this structure as like, there's no way I can hold that and make it happen, because it is a lot of work to make it so. Like, you gotta provide this container, and it's nice when there's a lot of people who agree on it. But for the singular parent in the home who's up against media and other community members who like don't care about this, like how do you work it all in? I've found that I've made a lot of concessions in my ideal for the sake of having community, and not being too rigid with them.
Beautiful.
So tell me.
Well, I love that you're bringing this up, because it's one of my favorite, because a lot of people will share something, oh, we did this, or we have this, it's not very Waldorf. Well, there's no such thing as not very Waldorf. You could, because Waldorf is supposed to be alive and responding to the child in front of you. So if you're in Hawaii and you're knitting socks, I don't know if that's rightful. The kindergarten teacher, who's one of my dear mentors, told me she doesn't remember what they did, but they thought of something else because everybody was barefoot. So it's really about meeting the child where they are. That's the beginning and the end, and then but also there's the relational social aspect where that can support the rhythm. So of course, if you're working out of Waldorf education in an established program, you have this beautiful supportive structure that is also imperfect and has limitations based on physical site or structure or finances. So there's always going to be, that's life. That's our balancing. And what it reminds me of the procession of the species in Olympia, being on the bus down to the parade, and my son was in his all he wanted to do is wear his Ivers Menu Bear Native American mask. That was all he wanted. He at first he thought he wanted to be a tiger, and then he got really sad and self-conscious with the face paint. Took it off. He had his little mask. That's what he was happy with. And then there was another boy on the bus who was crying because he was in this very elaborate lion suit that his mom probably had put a lot of time and energy and love and making. And then it came to the day and it was so sad. He just didn't want to wear it, right? So how sad if our festivals or our expectations become more important than the person that they're meant to nourish and bring joy to.
Right.
And accepting those hard moments when there's a mismatch between, we've really tried to offer something out of our goodwill and love, and there's a tragic mismatch between what is our child needs or the group needs or the moment requires than what we have lovingly prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And that's might be one of our little deaths, right?
Right. Over and over as a parent.
Yeah.
Like,
so,
I wanted this.
So, and I mean, and it's funny that you're asking me this question, or asking this question also, because the original Waldorf kindergarten was supposed to be designed as the idyllic traditional home. So here you are saying, well, what if I can't do it right? But you are able to have the set up your life to be home with your kids in a beautiful, natural environment, and be really responsive to their individual needs, and also create community with friends and people who are like-minded and unlike-minded, and have a really and they have a multi-generational container that is also holding them. So it's all almost ironic that you're asking that, because it's like, oh, I can't create something that looks like a school, but actually have something that is kind of more like traditional village life and community.
That's what the school's trying to replicate.
Yes.
I've got the original.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it doesn't mean not to look at, oh, what is the value in that? Obviously you don't want to decide what bedtime is every night, but maybe you are going to stay up late sometimes. Mm-hmm. You are going to. So,
right.
So it's just, I think it's within ourselves to, and this is a big message for me, because I'm one of those people who, I'm not dogmatic towards other people, but I had a picture of what I wanted for Waldorf for all my kids, and it looked very different for all three of them. I want eurythmy, and I want 2 languages, and handwork through 8th grade and the full high school experience. And there's so much value and beauty in those, and there's also value and beauty and meaning in what I was able to create for my kids, and how they were cross-pollinators, or I was a cross-pollinator in other communities, receiving the beauty and value of those communities, bringing something of my talents and skills to enliven what is already present. So
being with the world and accepting.
Yes.
Yeah, back to your biography work, and this is what actually happened.
Yes.
And seeing the value of what actually happened.
Yes.
Seems like a gift that you bring.
Yeah. Well, Steiner said to teachers, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact quote, but he really called to teachers. He said, teachers must be lovers of our time. So not to be going, oh, I wish there was no cell phones, or I wish,
right.
to be always looking back. Yes, let's look back and bring forward what's wholesome, but I also, there's many ways as a woman, as a human being, that I wouldn't want to step back into previous times. So what's the great opportunity of being born in this place and this time, and what's our great responsibilities and tasks. And I think when you mentioned having this conversation, you talked about sustenance. And it's funny, I wasn't really thinking of rhythms when you said that. I was thinking of food sovereignty and nourishment and also nature as the great healer and soul filter and sustainer of
all of the different things that we take in as nourishment. Yeah. That's what I really love about Waldorf, is it's very environmental.
Yeah. So I think our greatest hope and for safety and Waldorf, they said truth, beauty, and goodness is to have people who are alive to the world, who are alive to themselves, awake to themselves, and have awareness and compassion for other people. And we need all our senses to be awake to ourselves. We need we need the nourishment of all our senses, and reverence for the whole world. And Steiner also says, if you want to know the world, know yourself. If you want to know yourself, know the world. So that's the beautiful thing. I'm gonna if I try to penetrate the cedar tree and all that it is as an organism, as a tree, what its significance to culture in the Pacific Northwest, I'm actually going to learn who I am.
So. Can you give us an example?
Well, I'm looking out at a tree right now. It's not a cedar, but I know I've actually told stories under the cedar trees under your property, so that's what invoked that for me. But if I am sitting with a cedar and I'm connecting to how cedar's indicative of how much water is around, if I'm connecting to all the uses of cedar, if I'm connecting to how cedar, it's interesting, when we're cedar's different than other local plants. It is nourishing to the environment and connected to the salmon, but we probably wouldn't drink cedar tea, because part of the strength of the cedar is actually the tannins and the little bit of poison in it that protects it from insects and other things. So I would connect me, I guess, to strength and to my dependence on the health and well-being of our environment for sustenance, connect me to the heroics of the salmon and the sacrifice of salmon to be one of those beings that never see their young, yet sacrifice their bodies for their young and for all other beings. So.
I do drink cedar tea.
Well,
different ecosystem.
But also but if you were to drink it too strong,
sure,
yeah, it's a different medicine, right? It's more actually, probably we would call it more of a medicine than a food. So,
yeah. No, not for sustenance. I do it for medicine.
For strength. And what else? What qualities do you?
Certain grounding, clearing. Yeah. Tapping into. What I like about cedar is just that strong hara that keeps, that it's very protected. Like, not many things will grow under a cedar because of its constitution. Which, just for me as a introvert and a campaigner for people to be clearly themselves, Like, I love that medicine.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but it also interacts, it houses many different, beings, and it lives in community. So, and she's very well connected to other cedars underneath. Like, it's all one cedar tree, really, because
and
roots are
generosity, Cedars can give so much and still live. They can give wood and still, traditionally gave wood for canoes and longhouses and yet live.
Right, give their skin, for weaving,
clothing,
for clothing, and still
baskets,
live. And just to your point, learn about the world and you learn about yourself. Like, we take totally different messages from cedar.
Yeah.
So
that's beautiful. Yeah.
Wow. But we can agree. Like, yes, I see that to be true.
Yeah.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that example. Learn about the world and learn about yourself. Learn about yourself and you learn about the world, the micro and the macro.
Yes.
Okay, I was going to have you do a biography timeline, but then I just realized, I mean, sure, I have ways that I can relate to this, and questions I have about my own children and making peace with it, but then remembering, they are people who maybe don't want their childhood to be broadcasted to the world.
Well, I mean, maybe, and that's beautiful to, in the time of social media, and also more awareness. There's the protection. There's consent in our stories. What we choose to share and what we hold close. But I'd love to hear if you have an example from your childhood, if you want to give one of maybe even just, it could be a hard time or a hard moment, and maybe something will come up of how that connects to, was that a very unique event to your life, and or can they see a pattern in other children or people of that age?
I have one that's been on the forefront of my mind, that left a deep impression on me, and I've been working with it with different methods this week.
Okay.
So, but I feel like I can speak to it, and it's not so raw and tender, but it's this, we were talking about conscientiousness, and how that can be helpful or hurtful, and the passing that sort of toxic conscientiousness, like over obsession with self-criticism, and how that can be passed on to the children. And so in my efforts to grow as a practitioner, get my message out there, I've come across this little death that I had as a child, where I got something from my dad, who probably got something from his dad, and yada yada. But so we were devout Catholic, and something that's supposed to be a very positive thing in the best light is confession. Like, you can go and you can have these private conversations with a spiritual elder who will talk to you about your deepest, darkest, and give you a way forward to be absolved and to sort it out in your life and move on.
Well, ideally, reassurance and wisdom is what you were hoping for, it sounded like.
Well, that's
being free.
That's like the best way to think of this process.
Okay.
A child who didn't choose this elder, who didn't, was assigned, and like, I was very conscientious, very much wanted to be good, And
how old were you?
So 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my dad was on this kick where he wanted the rhythm of all of us going to confession every week. It was...
Did you have to do more bad stuff so you'd have material?
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like I was, I mean, I'm not perfect, like, but I really do put effort into being a good person. And so, and that's just who I am. I started journaling as soon as I could write. Like, I've always, been
You're a Pisces.
I'm a Pisces. I'm reflective.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there was this moment when, like, it had been a few weeks of, like, going to confession, and we all had to. It's like, yeah, no choice in the matter. Like, we're doing it. And I told my dad, like, I don't know what I have to confess. Like, and I was telling him, like, I didn't fight with my siblings. I did my homework. I
Wow.
I cleaned up my, like, I don't know what it is. And he told me, like, there's always something.
Yeah. What came up for me when you were starting to give this picture is that Steiner had a definition for evil, which I really like, and he says evil is good in the wrong place. So maybe confession was really met something in your father, and it was rightful for his age, but it was a trespass on where you were developmentally to be, and there wasn't a priming or way to invite you into a participation that would be meaningful and affirming.
Well, yeah, it wasn't a building.
Yeah.
It was
It was a demand.
It was a demand, and it was like an excavation of, like, a sense of self that hadn't been built.
Well, and
yet.
Yeah, so it'd be but I want to be respectful. I actually don't know a lot about Catholicism. I don't know I know your denomination was Orthodox, which sounds way more Catholic than Catholic. So I don't know when kids start confessing, but I know gaslighting is a word that is really overused right now, so I'm gonna be careful about that. But that's kind of the idea of you're holding a picture of all the things that I use to quantify what goodness is. That's what I'm doing, and so there's something very sad to have your truth impeded upon that way. Like,
yeah,
I know there's times I haven't been good, but this week I was good, and so and also there's a bit of cognitive dissonance, maybe is more the word, and then also just not being seen. That is so great that you had, that must feel really good to have such a good week that you can't even think of a hard moment or anything that you wish was different. That's special to have a week like that.
Or like something that I did wrong.
Yeah.
Or something that I have to say sorry about.
Yeah.
Like, or that I didn't say sorry about. Or,
Yes. Yes. No, there's a lot of layers where that's that's a wrong. That is a little death against, I was good, and I have to say I wasn't good.
Right. But really what it did was like, I'm not actually good. Like, I'll never be good.
I'm not good. So that's the name of that death might be never enough.
Yeah.
Never enough. That was a death of being enough.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, enough to rest, enough to enjoy, enough to feel okay about myself.
Or well, and of your knowing too.
Right.
So it's so interesting the point that this came in, because in Waldorf schools, when kids are 7 or 8, this developmentally is a time that's associated with kids really realizing that they can say one thing outwardly and know something different to be true inside, and that the people around them, their parents, their friends, can't see that. It's just so it's often when children will do lying, and it's different than kind of the bragging of a 6-year-old or the flowing imaginative lies of convenience of a 5-year-old. It's really distinctive of, and so
it's like the sneaky.
Yes, well, but side by side with that is the wish to be good, and so that is why in 2nd grade that the stories of folk tales and fables are brought, where most commonly the animals take on the foibles and frailties and lower nature of human beings, so that the kids can really see that that magnified picture of something like being greedy, of like, well, I might be greedy, but I would never pretend being dead and have myself buried in a melon patch and eat all the melons. I would never do that. Anansi would do that. He would be that greedy, but I wouldn't. So you can align with goodness in seeing that exaggerated picture, right? And it can, and you can, children can look at it in that story sense. But on the other side of that is the wish to be good, and the attempt to be good, and the awareness of being good. And so those come in. Traditionally, it was the stories of saints, but it's obviously hopefully in most places just widened to be whoever we consider a universally holy person around the world. This is an area that always needs a little clarification, because no, we're not talking about people who are made a saint for making some terrible mission in California that's connected to genocide. We're not talking about hysterical medieval women sucking pus off a wound of somebody with leprosy. We're talking about people who stand the universal test of time of goodness and love, sacrifice, service. So obviously there's Saint Francis, other more modern holy people that have been brought in would be like Harriet Tubman. She's a historically true person, but there's also a legendary quality to the deeds of her life. What's really important, especially for us, a lot of the saints, traditional saints, Saint Francis, those live on the soil of Europe and are connected to the energy of that place. So it's really important not only to, the saints that are around the world or traditionally known, but the what's under our feet. And that really comes down, where we live, to the stories of Indigenous people. And also I would widen it out to say Indigenous ways and life ways that where there is not a distinctions in the who you show value, respect in regard to. I would say there's a fundamental gesture of respect that we can recognize in Indigenous cultures that would be considered a traditionally saintly quality. So anyhow, that so I just to touch on that because developmentally, you were at the age of really having awareness of wanting to be good. So that's why that was so particularly wounding to have that message of if I'm not good, I must be bad, or I'm not enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So okay. So that's the work, is seeing the context.
The context and this also very, especially the developmental context, because kids even up to that age, that early childhood age that, usually think of as 7 and below, if something bad happens to me, I'm bad. If something good happens to me, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And then that translates, right? If people approve of me or like me, I'm good. If they don't approve of me or like me or agree with me, I'm bad. So that's a very important moment to honor and redeem, like that beautiful sincerity and innocence you had of I'm good.
So to hold on, make that bigger.
Yes.
Than the yes. No, you're not.
Yes. And I'm sure you're probably in a place where as a parent you can really have compassion for maybe your father was trying to impart a rhythm that he would give you sustenance. He wanted to give you a form that would be supportive of your uprightness, and cared. So it's a tricky thing, right? Just it's just kind of like the little boy in the lion costume, right? Your dad was trying to hold some goodness for you, but it wasn't he missed the good little girl who was in front of him, who hadn't fought with her siblings and had done her homework and cleaned her room or whatever else was supposed to happen. She was lost in the picture.
Right. Well, and then also I love my generation of parents because there's an emphasis on seeing the good even when they do fight with their sibling, even when they do, they don't want to clean their room, even when they you're still good.
Yeah.
Just the seeing of the goodness.
Yeah. No, it's seeing what's happening. Kim John Payne, who's another amazing mentor and teacher whose work is in the mainstream. Almost everybody knows the work Simplicity Parent, but I love how he has really great approach to discipline. And the first step is disapprove, so it could just be pressing the pause button. But the second step is always acknowledgement. Usually you guys really get along and we have a fun time, and the next step is to discover, I didn't see what happened, and find out what's going on, and then do a do-over. But I really, that's you can really, I think everyone can connect to the pain of not being seen or being misunderstood as a young child, and not having the words or the capacity or feeling like you had the power to advocate for yourself. And maybe there's a time though when you can think, oh, that was really great, my uncle stood up for me. Or
oh, I do. I have the best story.
Oh, I want to hear it.
Okay. I mean, it's simple.
Okay.
But it's complete antidote to this.
Yay, I want to hear it.
I had a mouth.
No.
Yes, I've been acknowledged for my firecracker wit.
Well, you're a singer, you need a mouth, right?
Right. I don't know why or what it was, but I was flipping some attitude to my dad at the dinner table at my grandparents' house.
Okay.
I don't know why or what. It's just something that
Well,
happened.
how old were you?
Right. Maybe a little younger. I don't know. It's, probably around there, though. Maybe 6.
Oh, yeah. You were a bold 6-year-old.
Bold 6-year-old.
Okay, I love
it. Mm-hmm. And, I took it too far sometimes. Right? It's so clear. It's fine. I had an old school dad. It was born in the 1930s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was old for me.
Yes.
For my
Yes.
generation. Yeah. So, I was sent to my room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how long it took, but sometime after dinner, sometime after dinner, the first person to come knock on my door was my grandpa.
Aww.
And he brought me a cookie.
Aww.
And he just sat down.
Aww.
Just checked on me.
That's beautiful. That's really sweet.
Just gave me a smile. Just saw me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like boundary was made.
Yeah.
I went off. It didn't have to be a whole ongoing issue, but
beautiful.
I was reminded that I was seen and appreciated.
He was tracking you.
Yeah.
And what's beautiful about that is he didn't make your dad wrong. Sounds like he didn't interrogate you. And he was just really present and brought warmth and interest. And that's lovely.
Yeah. And for a self-reflective kid, like that's useful.
Yeah.
For any kid.
Yeah, and brought you back into belonging.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that story.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was just having this conversation with my husband earlier today. It's like you've got good experiences and bad experiences, or however you want to frame it, and like you can choose which one gets louder. So yeah, thank you for helping me like hold those side by side. Yeah, because my dad had a certain job. Yeah, he held up a standard. Yeah,
because he was military, correct? Or was this different after military?
Oh yeah, no, he was a fuddy-duddy when I came around, but yeah, he had a long military career before marriage and children.
Yeah, well, and it's when you think about where he was in his biography, he was an old school father, and he thought he was doing his job and making sure you were, he was tracking you. So yeah, it's just beautiful, the complexity, right?
Yeah, and love for the village.
Yes.
Yeah, just like if you're able to have many different grown-ups in the ecosystem around the children, there's so much that they can tag team and provide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me think of the work of Cynthia Aldinger and Lifeways, and one of her books talks about what do children need most, and I love her answer, and it's ongoing relationships with worthy adults. And just those places where they're so important, where you know people over time and are known by people over time. And and it's one of the wonderful things is in our time is that we get to create the village. We don't just have to, we don't have to make the same concessions to the village as before, but then comes the responsibility of cultivating that field of support and community. And I really honor your work and being a beautiful tender of community hearth. And also just the privilege of knowing you over time and knowing your story. A big swatch of your story and your children. I think that one of the highest compliments I've ever gotten was when Ogden said, you told him he was having a babysitter, and you told him it was me, and he said, Miss Victoria is not a babysitter.
Yeah. So much more. You definitely. And Ogden has high taste. High taste. So you are a worthy adult. Because he will let us know. So thank you so much. I love you. I love you very much,
Bridgid.
And
thank you.
And I'm really happy to share you with my community, my listeners. And if anybody has watched this and thought like, I need this woman to listen to my story and tell me and reflect it back to me, like, how would they get a hold of you?
I'll just give you my email information.
Okay, I'll put your email in the show notes.
storybasket88@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bridgid. And thank you.
Well, thank you for sitting at my table with us today. I hope you got something meaningful out of our somewhat meandering conversation. These episodes are such an honor for me to create because they let me share the richness of community that I've cultivated over time. And this is one of the most fun ways I know how to introduce you to the people I cherish. So if you'd like to connect with Victoria, she's incredibly generous with her knowledge and insight. And if you are in the Everett, Washington area, she has something special coming up. She will be hosting mixed age homeschool enrichment and tutoring groups for early childhood ages 5 to 7 and elementary ages 8 to 10, beginning the week of September 15th, 2025. You can reach out to her directly at storybasket88@gmail.com for more details. Please remember to like, subscribe, review, and share so that other people can get a hold of this amazing information from my guests. And of course, if you want to know more about me, you can subscribe to my newsletter at bridgidberkano.com. Thanks again for listening and being a part of this community with me. Until next time, take care.